And welcome back. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. This is what I call my morning musings. I'm sharing with you some thoughts on the resurrection of the dead. As everyone agrees, the resurrection is to overcome the death of Adam. Obviously, therefore, we must properly identify the death of Adam. Now, I don't have to tell you that the majority of believers identify the death of Adam as biological, physical death. Okay, so let me ask you a question. And I posed this question just recently in my formal public debate with Joel McDermott. That debate was held here in Ardmore, July the 19th through the 21st, 2012. Here's the question. Is physical death the enemy of the child of God? Joel McDermott said, yes, it is. And most people believe physical death is the enemy of the child of God. Oh, but wait. Let's ask another question, shall we? When the faithful child of God, redeemed by the blood of Christ, cleansed of all sin, dies, where do they go? Well, the majority of believers today would say, well, they go to heaven. Okay, let me get this straight. The believer in Christ, redeemed by the blood of Christ, purified, washed, and having the righteousness of God imputed to them, they die. They experience the curse of Adam. You see, to say that physical death is the enemy of the child of God is to say that this child of God, redeemed by the blood of Christ, purified, having the righteousness of Christ imputed to them, is still under the curse of Adam. Now let me ask you a question. How is it possible to be purified and redeemed by the blood of Christ, having no sin, and yet still be under the curse of Adam? What good has Christ done us in that scenario? And further, if today, when I die as a Christian, redeemed by the blood of Christ, having His righteousness imputed to me, I go directly to heaven when I die biologically, how exactly is that a curse? How exactly is death my enemy if biological death ushers me into heaven? Where's the curse? You see the problem? You see, there's another element here. If biological death is the enemy of the child of God, we must ask the question, is the child of God genuinely forgiven of sin? And we'll cover that question in our next segment, and it'll be Monday, by the way, before I can be back with you. But the really pertinent question for today is physical death the enemy of the child of God? If physical death is the enemy of the child of God, then even the child of God remains under the curse of sin, under the power of sin. Well, what happened to forgiveness? What happened to redemption? Secondly, if at physical death the child of God is ushered directly into heaven, exactly how does death serve as the enemy? You see, traditional Christianity's view of death, sin and death, has some severe problems. Only covenant eschatology has the answer for these problems. If you still believe, and if you believe that physical death is the enemy of the child of God, you must ask yourself about the relationship of the child of God. Is the child of God genuinely forgiven? And again, more on that later. If they are forgiven, why do they still experience physical death? And secondly, if physical death is the enemy of the child of God, how in the world can physical death, pardon me, be considered the enemy of the child of God if physical death takes the child of God directly into the presence of God in heaven? Is that really being an enemy? Well, once again, these are some severe problems in the traditional views of eschatology. And again, only covenant eschatology has the answers, the biblical answers for these issues. Thanks again for joining me on this morning's Morning Musings. Don't forget, I cover these issues and a ton more in my book, We Shall Meet Him in the Air, The Wedding of the King of Kings. Go to my websites, www.eschatology.org or www.bibleprophecy.com. Order the book, mention that you saw the offer on YouTube, and I will refund your shipping, save you $5. Hey, look, this has been called a groundbreaking book. The material just on the death of Adam is really incredible stuff. It will help you to understand and to view the resurrection, to view the work of Christ, to view the relationship of the child of God in a incredible, wonderful new way. Get a copy of the book, okay? Thanks again for joining me. We'll see you on the flip side.